بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السيدات والسادة الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great pleasure to be among you here today to share thoughts around the risks associated with identities in the digital world. I'll basically make this presentation as short as possible with, again, attention given to the role of, again, government organizations, specifically like Emirates Identity Authority, and how it can support the protection of digital identities. So, to start with, everything around us today seems to be following the approach of Big Bang, whether we are individuals, businesses, organizations, whatever we are, everything is happening Big Bang. The pace of technological development as well as the evolution of technology is very much disruptive as well as explosive in nature. The content is being generated big time. The data that is being generated in today's digital world is something very much impressive and significant. 200 million emails are being sent in every minute. The social media is changing the whole game. Everything is being changing. Even if we compare the data that we had in 2005, 130 exabytes that was reported, it is again anticipated and reported to be growing by a factor of 300 to reach 40,000 exabytes by 2020. Again, the alarming fact is that the digital universe is doubling every 2 years in terms of content. With that digital revolution and the expansion in data, 10% of data is only what is structured. Again, 75% of the data today is being generated by individuals. And when we talk about, again, the data once it's created, and once it's actually, when we talk about the presentation of data, then we talk about huge size that once it's converted to viewable data. The world of practice, it's also reporting that we can also generate huge potential and savings from data-driven practices as well as data-guided decisions. And also that it could also participate in key breakthroughs, and it could, not only for private sector organizations, but also for government organizations. Again, data-driven practices could support governments to reinvent themselves and to address key challenges that they actually face in today's digital world. The field also, when we talk about those researchers and those who are actually running companies, they also are promising that the value of the data is still unrealized, the data in today's world, and that there are some mysterious potential that is waiting there for organizations who invest in data gathering. The problem is, or the challenge for us as practitioners as well as individuals, lies in the fact that only, again, a third of the data in today's world is protected, and that 50% of the data that we have in today's world that needs to be protected is protected. With the growing connectivity that we see today, everything is just being connected more and more, whether we talk about, again, people, societies, businesses, but even in the field of electronics, things are getting more and more ubiquitous. Figures also indicate that the numbers of connected devices are going to double in the coming 8 years. They talk about, again, 6 billion connected devices in 2011, and it's expected to grow to 12 billion, and so on and so forth. And I believe that this number is going to grow far more than this. There are different frameworks and approaches that looks at how we can classify and secure data. They talk, again, this is just a typical framework which looks at privacy, compliance, custodial confidentiality of data, and when data need to be locked down. However, we are again in front of a frightening realization that the amount of information in today's world that needs to be secured is growing faster than our abilities to secure them. Just a simple diagram that illustrates this point. The analog world is shrinking more and more, and the digital interactions and the digital networks are going and more, again, increasing by the minute. The fact is that in the field of identity management and the digital explosion that actually brought a paradigm shift to information and knowledge is in a state of paradox. Again, one of the biggest challenges that we are facing today is that, again, the data that with the data that we have today, only 5% of data is considered to be useful. However, by 2020, this number is considered and reported to go up to 33% of data that is supposed to be useful. So as more and more data gets converted into information, then this data is going to be somehow linked to digital identities and associated with identities. So there is a challenge that needs to be addressed both at the national and the individual level. The digital behaviors are being analyzed. Again, we have got so many companies who argue that, again, gathering more information about people will help them to provide better customer service, as well as, the other potentials that we talked about. But, even the concept of big data is being considered to possess a challenge to governments as well as individuals. Governments have tried to take an active role in addressing the problems that the digital world is presenting. So the government of the United Arab Emirates, we have started or initiated a government program, one of the very large scale initiatives to develop a national identity management infrastructure across the country to protect personal identities by providing them with a secure identity, profiles, and to encourage the public, the population, both residents as well as citizens, to participate in the digital world, and also to address the uncertainty factors in the digital world. Basically, what the government of the United Arab Emirates is trying to do is to address two important dimensions in the security management ecosystem. One is to address the identity management concerns overall, plus the second thing is related to trust management, which is something very much missing in today's current practices. The identity management infrastructure produces one important output in the output of an ID card. The ID card is not just a plastic card. It provides multi-factor authentication. So it's based on very advanced technologies. So, for example, businesses, private sectors, as well as governments, they can use the card to provide them with multi-factor authentication capabilities, like having a smart card, something something you have, something you remember, like a PIN code, and so on and so forth. The infrastructure is very much based on advanced technologies like public key infrastructure, plus other confidential and very advanced technologies to provide higher levels of confidentiality and integrity, as well as non-repudiation. The biggest challenge that organizations are actually facing to transform themselves into electronic environments is the problem, again, the biggest problem is non-repudiation, where people could deny that a transaction, happening at one point or at one point or another. Again, we are using, the concept of digital signature timestamping, which should also support non-repudiation overall. The concept is that, again, to provide anonymity of people and to protect their privacy to some level, is that we use a zero knowledge proof concept for authentication without disclosing any identifiers of individuals. So for example, a citizen could interact with a service provider by presenting his credentials, and these credentials get, again, they get verified by a national validation gateway, Emirates Identity Authority, and we just, again, get the results and pass them to the service provider, who should either decline or approve a transaction. And then, again, the citizens and residents in the UAE can use a multi-factor authentication instead of just disclosing further information to service providers. The whole ecosystem is again, composed of different components, which addresses anonymity, as well as, again, it minimizes risk and it provides higher levels of security, and it's protected by a regulatory framework. So again, we are talking about the role of a government to support electronic transactions. Indeed, today, with the capabilities that we are offering, it will support, again, higher levels of privacy. We talk about, again, credentials like digital ID profiles, biometrics, PIN codes, digital signature, timestamp, and so on and so forth. What we are trying to explore today, and we are actually doing some trials, is to provide further authentication factors to businesses, like an OTP, one-time password, similar to the RSA tokens being used in the bank sectors. And we are also trialing the NFC technology, where we can use the ID card once it's tapped to a mobile device, whether it's actually an iPad, iPhone, or a Samsung tab, then the identity could be verified. One of the very interesting projects that we are working on is a federated identity management infrastructure, and this federated identity management infrastructure aims to unify how people get authenticated and their identities verified in online environments. I know that today, for example, the UAEs, we have got federal e-government, we have got so many local e-governments. With the national identity management infrastructure that we have today, the authentication and the authorization processes are supposed to be, again, unified. So, again, the federated identity management system is not only in the UAE. What we are trying to do is to also work collaboratively with the GCC countries, as well as, both interregionally and internationally with, again, with foreign countries, to ensure that we can use the same identity card to cross borders and to benefit from services as well, whether it's government or e-commerce. Indeed, just to conclude my presentation, a government-owned identity management infrastructure, which I'm very much a proponent of as a practitioner, not because I'm again, a government figure, it will enable innovation and will, again, support businesses to do, again, and invent new business models and service models, which could be very much value services that could be enabled through stronger authentication mechanisms. Many studies indicate that the biggest threat facing the transformation of businesses to e-commerce or e-business models, as well as e-government transformation, the biggest challenge is security. When we talk about security, just pinpointing to the security and going into the micros of security, we look at, the issue of the possibility of identifying individuals, which is a big dilemma that businesses are actually in today. Indeed, with such an infrastructure, it would also enhance the trust in the internet economy. Indeed, all governments, all organizations are trying to build knowledge-based economies, which is very much based on digital economy concept. Public, services, as well as private sectors, they can incur, or they can witness huge cost reduction. We have been doing so much trials. For example, we have used the ID card, for example, in Dubai course. The process was shortened from 10 minutes to 5 seconds. We have also trialed the use of the identity management infrastructure and the use of the ID card in some banks in the UAE. And interestingly, it shortened the process from almost 25 minutes to 10 minutes. And these are, some success stories that could be also available, which is actually available on the website. Indeed, with such a robust identity management infrastructure, we anticipate that the public participation and engagement is going to witness new levels in the coming few years. Overall, we believe that this infrastructure that we are building today, it's one of the vehicles that the government is trying to use to build more sustainable economy. The world is changing faster than our abilities to comprehend what is actually changing around us. So for some practitioners, this could not be realized. Again, I'm going to come to this point in a second. Having such an infrastructure is not only going to enhance your security and how you authenticate people, but it will give you a framework to support your business and the overall ecosystem. It will not impact the efficiency, effectiveness, and the productivity, but it will also enable, as I said, innovation and agility in the business. And we believe that with this infrastructure, we are going to have a much more potential benefits in the coming few years. Just to give you an example here, again, what I'm saying here is very much based on scientific research that we Emirates Identity Authority. There is a research that is going to be published very soon, I guess towards the end of this year or beginning of next year, where we are examining the benefits that identity management infrastructure in the UAE is going to bring to the private and public sector, and again to individuals, which is valued at around $1 trillion in the first year of full implementation. And this study is going to be very much available in the coming few months. Just also a final note here. I've been talking to the colleagues in ISACA, that the field of practice in the IT industry, again, you guys tend to operate in silos. I'm talking about those people working in the IT field. I'm a technical guy. I'm an IT person as well. Before I convert myself and transform myself into a different figure as well, business oriented. But the problem is the biggest problem that organizations are facing today is that IT departments tend to think in silos. They just think about how technical things should be done in technical ways. Even if we talk about business terms, they talk about technical business terms, which is also considered as jargons that people could normal people couldn't understand. I believe even this is again a big challenge to practitioners in the field. Who are actually working in ISACA and other industries to make their role today is to make their field more comprehensible and more understandable, where people could have a holistic view not only of the technical terms but overall business strategies and the overall visions of the country. Without further ado, we have set up a website. You can, that illustrates, how the validation gateway at Emirates Identity Authority, operates. This validation gateway is not theoretical. This is connected to the Abu Dhabi e-government, and it's actually on its way to be connected to the federal as well as Dubai and all other, e-government environments. The good, again, the very much positive and interesting fact is that, this validation gateway is going to be connected to the private sector to support retailing as well as the business sector. This is going to be a big time, sort of technology revolution, inshallah, in the coming few years. Just a final note here, as Emirates Identity Authority, we are very much active in researching in the field of identity management and how it impacts the other industries. If you'd like to read more about what we do at Emirates Identity Authority, please visit our website, id.ae, where you can load information. These publications have been published in the United Nations, and we are actually working to publish more and more articles from practitioners' perspective that could be swallowed by normal people. Thank you very much. Keep it normal, keep it simple. Thank you.
I would like to invite Gurpreet to hand over the token of appreciation, please.